Russia once promised a fleet of 200 stealth jets by 2025. Yet after 15 years, just 10 Su-57s exist, plagued by reliability issues, outdated engines, and stealth that Western radars can spot at astonishing distances. The flagship of Russian air power is failing on every front, and what's stopping production now threatens to collapse the entire program. So what went so disastrously wrong? Every Su-57 that has rolled off the production line relies on the AL-41F1 engine, a design rooted in late Soviet technology and adapted from the Su-35 power plant. Instead of a clean-sheet fifth-generation engine, the Felon operates with what amounts to a heavily modified fourth-generation core. The AL-41F1's hot section delivers about 14.5 tons of thrust with afterburner, but it falls short of the standards set by Western rivals. The F-22 Raptor's F-119 engine, for example, was engineered from the start for low observability and sustained supersonic cruise without afterburner, known as supercruise. The Su-57's current engine can only manage brief bursts near Mach 1.3, and even that is under ideal lightly loaded conditions. In combat configuration, the Felon simply cannot keep up. The consequences go beyond speed. The AL-41F1's hot exhaust creates a pronounced infrared signature, making the Su-57 easier to spot and track with modern sensors. Western analysts point to the lack of advanced cooling and nozzle shaping as a core vulnerability. Russian engineers at NPO Saturn have spent over a decade developing the next-generation Izdeli-30 engine, which promises higher thrust, up to 18 tons, better fuel efficiency, and a cooler exhaust. But after years of delays, the new engine is not expected to enter widespread service until at least 2027. Until then, every Su-57 remains stuck with an engine that makes it visible to enemy sensors and limits its ability to perform as a true fifth-generation fighter. Radar cross-section remains the most telling measure of a stealth fighter's viability. While Russia has never published verified figures for the Su-57, open-source modeling and Western analysts consistently place its radar signature well above that of the F-22. The F-22's frontal radar cross-section is widely believed to be comparable to a small bird or a steel marble, fractions of a square centimeter. In contrast, the Su-57's signature is estimated to be orders of magnitude larger, especially from the sides and rear. This is not just academic. Larger radar returns mean earlier detection by AWACS or ground-based radars, shrinking the Su-57's tactical options in contested airspace. The root of the problem lies in the airframe's visible compromises. The Su-57's engine intakes do little to hide the spinning fan blades, a notorious source of radar reflection. Unlike the F-22's serpentine ducts and blocker grids, the Felon's inlets allow radar waves a direct line of sight to the engine faces. Round, unshrouded exhaust nozzles further amplify radar and infrared signatures from behind. The prominent infrared search and track sensor, the IRST ball, sits exposed ahead of the cockpit, scattering radar energy and providing no stealth benefit. These features leave the aircraft more exposed to detection than its designers intended. Panel lines and fasteners, often plainly visible in close-up images, reveal a manufacturing approach less focused on flush integration. These gaps and seams disrupt radar-absorbent coatings and create hotspots for radar returns. Instead of the seamless sawtooth edges seen on Western stealth jets, the Su-57's surface finish reflects a trade-off between cost, manufacturability, and true low observability. Each of these design decisions adds up, making the aircraft far more detectable than its Western counterparts, and undermining its role as a fifth-generation stealth platform. On December 24, 2019, the first serial production Su-57 crashed during acceptance trials near Komsomolsk-on-Amur. The flight control system failed during the test, forcing the test pilot to eject as the new jet spiraled down and broke apart. Russian officials insisted the program would stay on track, but the crash delayed delivery of the first operational aircraft and raised immediate questions about reliability. Since then, open-source intelligence investigators and satellite imagery have tracked a pattern of technical trouble. Reports surfaced of ongoing avionics glitches, persistent engine integration problems, and groundings for unplanned repairs. At least one Su-57 was damaged in a Ukrainian long-range strike on Akhtubinsk airfield, with open-source intelligence groups confirming the aftermath through satellite photos. Social media and unverified claims circulated about further crashes and fires, especially in 2022 and 2023, but none of those claims have been independently confirmed by fleet counts or official statements. For the handful of test pilots and maintenance crews working with the Su-57, each new incident has meant more caution, more checks, and a growing sense that the aircraft is still not ready for reliable frontline service. India's investment in Russia's Su-57 through the fifth-generation fighter aircraft program was supposed to anchor the jet's export future and provide a major cash infusion. By 2018, after years of technical evaluation, Indian defense officials walked away from an $8 billion commitment. Parliamentary records and Ministry of Defense statements cited a lack of meaningful stealth, unresolved avionics issues, and an overall design they considered barely a step beyond their upgraded Su-30 MKI. The decision was not just technical, it was a financial verdict. Without Indian funding, Russia lost both a demanding partner and the volume orders needed to drive down unit costs. Official Russian claims have long put the Su-57 price at around $35 million per aircraft. Independent defense economists, however, estimate the real cost at well over $100 million once research, low-rate production, and support are included. The gap is not just on paper. Cost pressure has forced compromises in materials. Where the F-22 uses high-strength titanium and advanced composites for both stealth and durability, the Su-57 increasingly relies on aluminum alloys and less labor-intensive surface treatments. These choices make the aircraft cheaper to produce, but easier to detect, less resilient, and less competitive on the global stage. The fallout from India's exit rippled through the program, leaving Russia to shoulder the full cost of a jet that still struggles to meet its own promises. Sanctions imposed after 2014 and intensified following the 2022 invasion of Ukraine have cut off Russia's access to Western microelectronics and avionics. Export control databases show a sharp decline in imports of high-end chips and specialized components essential for advanced radar, electronic warfare, and flight control systems. Russian aerospace analysts point to a growing backlog of unfinished Su-57 airframes at the Komsomolsk plant, stalled by missing processors and imported subsystems. Teardown reports of Russian military hardware from the battlefield reveal Western-made chips repurposed from consumer electronics, highlighting the scale of the supply problem. With official supply chains blocked, Russian engineers have been forced to strip parts from grounded or incomplete jets to keep a handful of flyable Su-57s operational. Open-source intelligence investigators have tracked airframes at storage sites missing panels, avionics racks, or radar assemblies, evidence of systematic cannibalization. Some navigation systems now rely on commercial-grade GPS modules, a stopgap that falls short of military standards. The result is a shrinking pool of mission-ready aircraft, with each new sortie risking another jet going offline for lack of a single irreplaceable part. Russian commanders have kept the Su-57 far from the front lines. Instead of flying deep into contested airspace, the jet launches long-range missiles from well inside Russian territory. Sortie logs and Western intelligence reports show that these missions are rare and tightly controlled. There are no confirmed air-to-air victories credited to the Su-57 in Ukraine. In fact, most air-to-air engagements continue to be handled by older Su-35S fighters, which fly more often and take on riskier missions. Analysts point to a pattern. The Su-57 is used sparingly, with each flight planned to avoid exposure to Ukrainian air defenses and NATO surveillance. The aircraft's limited stealth and reliability issues have forced commanders to treat it as a high-value asset, not a workhorse. By contrast, the Su-35 has established itself as the backbone of Russian tactical aviation, flying far more combat sorties and achieving greater operational impact. The Su-57's cautious deployment reflects both its technical limitations and the reality of a fleet too small to risk in open combat. The Su-57's future is hemmed in not just by technical hurdles, but by the people and processes behind each jet. Training a pilot for Russia's only fifth-generation fighter is a multi-year commitment. Unlike older jets, the Su-57 demands mastery of sensor fusion, data links, and complex weapons, all skills that take at least 5 years to build. Open sources suggest the operational cadre remains tiny, with most estimates pointing to a small handful of fully qualified pilots. Some reports claim the number is in the single digits, though no official figures have been released. Even if more pilots were available, the training pipeline faces its own obstacles. Simulators, essential for modern conversion and tactics, have been plagued by technical faults and parts shortages, a problem echoed across Russia's combat aviation. On the factory floor, the story is no brighter. The Komsomolsk-on-Amur plant, responsible for assembling the Su-57, relies heavily on manual labor. Skilled technicians hand-fit composite panels, drill fasteners, and adapt each airframe to evolving specifications. Output hovers at just 2 to 4 aircraft per year, far short of the numbers needed to fill a squadron, let alone a fleet. Every aircraft differs slightly from the last, complicating maintenance and standardization. Without a modern, automated production line, scaling up remains out of reach. Even if every technical challenge vanished overnight, the limits of training and manufacturing would keep the Su-57 fleet small for years to come. Right now, Russia's struggle to field modern stealth aircraft exposes a critical gap behind the headlines. As global air power races forward, promises mean little without technology and trust. The reality in the skies matters more than rhetoric on the ground. What do you think? Can Russia catch up?